3, 2.
You're watching VATV, bringing Brookline home.
Why, everywhere you go, sunshine follows you. Everywhere you go, skies are always blue. Children love you, they seem to know. You bring roses up from the snow. Oh, the whole world says hello. Everywhere you go.
Welcome to the Seymour Allen Ziskin Show and All Ships at Sea, broadcasting from Brookline, Massachusetts, the United States of America. And here is your host, the one and only Seymour Allen Ziskin. Take it away, Seymour.
Hello, everyone. So nice to be back with you again. I look forward to it. But one thing for certain, we always bring you the best of people. And my guest has been on our show before. He is the Consul of Poland. His name is Marek Lasiowski-Las. He's not only a great consul, but he is also a great trial lawyer. And his practice is all over New England, and his office is in Situate, Massachusetts. And it's an honor, always an honor, and a privilege to have him as my guest. He is going to be discussing a small city in Poland, Krakow. And with that, welcome, Marek. My pleasure having you here as my guest.
Thank you, Seymour. It's always a pleasure to be with you. And thank you very much for this very nice introduction. Probably largely undeserved, but we'll see what happens with the show.
That's for sure.
As you remember, last few times we spoke generally about Poland and traveling around Poland, and we also spoke about the Jewish history of Poland. But today I thought it may be interesting for your viewers to hear a little bit more in depth about one of the preeminent cities in Poland, the city of Krakow. It is an exciting city because it is a historical city. So by going through its narrow little streets, you can follow the history of Poland. When you go to its churches and its now restored synagogues, you can hear and feel and see the life of people in the past centuries, and there's great many museums. But it also is a young city because it's a city of universities with lots of young people, lots of visitors who come in, drink delicious Polish beer, eat lots of highly cholesterol-filled foods, which can only be eaten on vacations and not to be eaten more often than that, and have a lot of fun. And you may have heard even that there is the largest Jewish festival occurs in Krakow as well, with klezmer music, with dancing, with Jewish foods being served. So this is a city which is really both old and very modern and very exciting. And perhaps it would be fun for your viewers to learn something more about it. I thought that maybe the best way to start is to show a map, and I brought some show and tell pictures that hopefully your viewers will be able to see on their screens. And the first picture is that of a map of the city of Krakow from 1493.
Oh, really?
And what I thought would be kind of interesting is to lead you through what I would like to talk with you about the city by pointing points on this map. Of course, you see it's 1493, so the city is fortified, and we will speak a little bit about fortifications. You will note that there is to the right, a fairly large tower. It's St. Florian's Tower. So we'll talk a little bit about the St. Florian Towers and its fortifications. And then we'll go down the street to the marketplace, which is the largest medieval marketplace in all of Europe. And on that marketplace is a preeminent church, St. Mary's Church, so we'll talk a little bit about St. Mary's Church. There's what's left of the City Hall, so we'll talk about the tower at the City Hall. And there is a cloth hall, which is equivalent to our Faneuil Hall in Boston. That's where all the trading was going on. And from then we'll go up the street to the Wawel Castle. That was the royal residence, a location where all of the defenses of the city were focused on, and all of the rulers of Poland who sat in Krakow sat, and later on it was also a seat of important politicians, including to this day the president of Poland has a right to reside there when he's in Krakow. And then you'll notice to the left there is a smaller city. Today it's part of the city proper. This is called Kazimierz, after the Polish king who established it, and this is the location which was largely populated by the Jewish population, which was given this city with its own defenses. There's a great many synagogues in it, and unfortunately during World War II it was also the site of the Krakow ghetto, from whence people were taken to the Plaszow concentration camp, and in the end to Auschwitz concentration camp. So today there's not great many Jews in that city, but the revival of Jewish life, to the extent that it can be with the few Jews that are there, is done. And the historical monuments and objects have been rebuilt, and it's a lovely tourist area to go to as well. So that's what I propose to do today.
Very good, because Poland today is one of the largest developing countries in Europe. And I'm part Polish, so I'm very proud of that.
Well, I hope it's the better part of you that's Polish.
I would say so.
That's good.
And incidentally, I want you all to notice out there that Marek is wearing the Polish-American pin, and I am that he gave me the Polish-American pin. We're both very proud wearing them.
Yes, the two flags pointing to the friendship between
Correct.
the two countries.
And we can shake on that, Marek.
And we should.
It's all yours now. Tell them about Krakow.
I'll be delighted to. Krakow is a very old city, somewhere. It was, the beginnings of Krakow are really not known, but when it starts appearing in the 9th century, it was described by a Jewish trader who, by the name of Abraham ben Jacob, who traveled throughout Europe. He traded and described Krakow as a trading center. There's a very charming legend associated with the creation of Krakow, and the legend has it that there was a castle and a prince living in a castle, and beneath a castle there was an evil dragon that, as evil dragons are apt to do, was eating local virgins. And only virgins would do. The population naturally was less than happy, because I suspect they like their virgins around, particularly the young boys. As a consequence, the king wanted the dragon destroyed. And he promised the hand of the princess, his daughter, in marriage for whomever would be successful in killing the dragon. There's a great many knights from all over Europe who came in and fought with the dragon, but unfortunately they all died. And there was this poor shoemaker living down below the castle in Krakow who had an idea. He took a sheep's skin and filled it with plenty of sulfur, and then sewed it together. He, being a shoemaker, knew how to deal with leather and how to sew it together. Sew it so that it looked exactly like a sheep, and brought it in front of the cave where the dragon lived, and left it there. The dragon ate it and became enormously thirsty and started drinking the Vistula River, which you see on this map. And he drank so much that he ultimately burst. There were two consequences of it. The little shoemaker, in fact, became a prince and the ruler of Krakow, and then ultimately Poland. His descendants were. And to this day, there is underneath the castle, there is a cave where the dragon is believed to have lived. In front of the cave, there is a little monument, not quite so little, actually it's quite large monument, depicting the dragon, which periodically spews out burning fires, and the kids have a great charge looking and enjoying it. So that's the tourist part, and you can actually go and see the dragon even today. Now, Krakow became very quickly, very early, the seat of Polish kings back in 966 when Poland became a Christian country, and all of the population was baptized by the order of the king. The king resided at the castle. Poland was then on the edge of Western world, very much like it is today, basically being very so close to Russia and former Russian Empire, Soviet Union. And it was subject to conquest by Tatars. And Tatars in 1241 destroyed the city. So what you see on this plan is a rebuilt city with new city walls, and there were about nearly 2 miles of these walls with about 46 towers built. Now in the next picture you'll see what's known as a barbican. It's a very unusual medieval structure, unusual in a sense that there's only 3 such structures still surviving in all of Europe, and this is actually the best preserved one. And it was a fortification in front of the walls where people who wanted to enter the city would be allowed into that fortification. They would be checked, maybe like our TSA, for weapons and, and contraband, whether they would be allowed to go inside the city, and only then they would enter the city. And I think I have another picture of the barbican showing here. Now, the barbican, you can see, is in front of the city walls, and it was connected, and today it's not connected, but then it was connected to the city walls, specifically to the tower that you see to the right of the barbican, behind it. And this tower is called St. Florian's Tower. It's one of the 3 remaining towers because in 1820s, the then Austrian rulers of Krakow felt that the fortifications did not contribute to the city, that they almost imprisoned the city in the gloomy darkness of Middle Ages. So they took the fortifications apart, except for some little pieces which were left to show what medieval cities look like. An interesting thing that they did with the rest of the land that they freed by taking out the moats and the curtain walls was that they put a park in it. So today, right around the old city of Krakow, there is a lovely park where you see mothers with perambulators and little babies in them, or kids running and kicking balls and having a lot of fun, and of course a lot of tourists. Tourists are there all the time. So this barbican was built in 1498. It led to St. Florian's Tower, and as you know, St. Florian is a patron saint of firemen. He is believed to protect people against fire, and in fact there is now, and I will not take credit for it, this is an Austrian prayer, not a Polish prayer, which says something like this: "Dear St. Florian, protect my house from being burned, have my neighbor's house burned instead." If I have the correct translation correctly here. As it was apt to be done in Middle Ages, and I'll show you more of this tower, these towers were protected individually by guilds. And the guild that protected this, that defended this fire, was the Furriers Guild. What furriers have with St. Florian, I really don't know. This is the St. Florian statue that's right inside the gate. And the gate actually serves an important function today, or a couple of functions, aside from its example of being a historical object. Whenever there's medieval movies made in Poland, they always use this tower because it looks very authentic, and it is authentic. And when the movies are not being shot in front of this tower, the tower is used by artists who sell their pictures. They're oftentimes very simple pictures, not of great artistic merit, but are very nice to have as a memento of your visit, a souvenir of your visit to Krakow. You can buy a picture of a local, maybe art student who's trying to supplement his income by taking pictures of, painting pictures of the tower or the local historical buildings. Now I mentioned that, that the city is a very young city. It's young because it has a university, but it has one of the oldest universities in the world. It's third oldest, and I'll show you the picture of the interior of the university, third oldest university in Europe, established in 1364. That's, if you can think of it, America was discovered in 1492. This is 130 years before that. There was a university in Krakow. Copernicus, a famous Polish astronomer, was one of the people who attended that university. So the university was established. The legend has it that a Polish queen of Hungarian background called Hedwig wanted to do something that would be very good for people of Poland, and she gave all of her jewels to build the university, and that's how it was established. It had a little bit of a troubled past because when Germans invaded in 1939, they wanted to eliminate all Polish upper classes, and they've arrested all of the university professors. They called them for a meeting, arrested them all, and sent them to concentration camp, the Sachsenhausen concentration camp. Most of the university professors perished in the course of that. So Poland was deprived of its educated elites to a large extent as a result of it. The university naturally did not operate during World War II, but now it is renovated. You can see the interior is quite lavish. Of course, these are the historical locations which are typically used for ceremonial purposes, graduations, people who are awarded doctors, honoris causa degrees, foreign dignitaries, presidents, and Polish dignitaries are invited to go there. And this is one of the newer buildings of the university. Now the next object that I wanted to mention to you is St. Mary's Church. As you remember, Poland is vastly a Catholic country. Today, actually, it's estimated that about 98% of the population is at least nominally Roman Catholic, because as in most other countries with the democratic movement and freedom, people are turning away from the church, not in the same numbers as they've done in Western Europe, but people are turning away from the church. And minorities, as you remember from your history, one of the largest minorities, about 10% of Polish population before World War II, over 3 million people were Jewish. They were killed by the Germans. So that the preeminent religion now in Poland is Roman Catholicism, although there is a revival of Jewish life in Poland, and that includes Jewish religion. And there is, in the eastern parts of Poland, there are Russian Orthodox or Greek Orthodox, various denominations, not a single denomination, but various denominations, Ukrainian, Uniate, Russian, and so forth. So there is a, and there's some Protestants in Poland as well, mostly people of German origin. But when you think about Poland and Polish religion today, you think about Roman Catholicism, and this is an example of it, St. Mary's Church, which was built in the early 13th century. This is yet another picture of St. Mary's Church, a very dramatic picture right after rainfall with two towers. And the legend had it that there were two architect brothers that were building the towers. One was progressing better than the other, and so the disgruntled brother killed the brother who was successful in building his side of the tower, and as a consequence, one tower is shorter today because the brother was unable to finish it. On top of that church, every hour on the hour, a trumpeter plays a particular tune, and it's a very famous tune for all of Poland. It is broadcast by Polish radio at 12 o'clock noon, so you know exactly that there's a noon time when the trumpeter plays. And the tune breaks down right in the middle of it to commemorate the fact that when the Tatars, the Mongols, invaded in 1241, one of the archers shot an arrow and pierced the trumpeter right through. So at the point where in the tune the arrow goes through the trumpeter's neck, the tune breaks off, and it's a very, very dramatic thing. Tourists like to both see it and hear it because the trumpeter can be seen up high in the sky through the little windows, and he goes through the four corners of the world playing his tune, and people will sit around and watch it. Inside the church it's a very richly appointed church. As you can see on the picture, there is a very beautiful altarpiece made by Wietse Fosch, who was a carver who came from what's today Netherlands, and was one of the preeminent carvers of statuary, both in wood and in stone. So when the then ruling Polish monarch died, for instance, he made his mausoleum in the castle.
Oh, go continue. 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought something happened. Okay. During the partitions of Poland, Krakow became Polish national symbol as center of culture and art. You may remember that Poland during 19th century was partitioned into by Austria, Prussia, and Russia. Krakow fell into the hands of first Prussians, which stole all of the royal crowns and and jewelry. But then Austrians came in, and Austrian rule was a very nice rule, not very nice, but in any case, it was a rule which was beneficial to Poland, and the church thrived. Now, that church, you notice, was standing in the main square, and this was, this is the Wietse Fosch altar, which is very beautiful, very large, and it's opened and only on special occasions, maybe once a day or so. And tourists certainly come in and flock to watch it. This is the marketplace that I told you was the largest one in Europe, and the picture itself is taken from the church that we were just looking at. So that's why you don't see the church. You see the marketplace, and the central location of the marketplace is occupied by the Cloth Hall, the Fenial Hall and Quincy Market of Poland. This was one of the central locations for trade, and this was one of the significance, other than education and a seat of political power. Krakow was also a trading city. It belonged to the Hanseatic order, the Hanseatic cities. I don't know, you may have heard of that. That's the German cities that united together to trade, to have benefits in their customs, to exchange goods. And Krakow was one of the cities that belonged to Hansa, was a Hanseatic city, and all the trading was done there. During the 15th century, all of the exotic items coming from the east would come through the Krakow's marketplace. Now, the picture I'm showing you now is actually a painting, and it underscores the political significance of the marketplace, because significant events, political events, occurred there. This is a homage. It's called the Homage of Prussia, when Prussia changed from a state-owned and ruled by the Teutonic Order into a Protestant country. The last Grand Master of the Teutonic Order became a Lutheran, and he was from the Hohenzollern family, the family that ultimately ruled Prussia all the way through to World War I. At that time, Prussia was a vassal state of Poland. The Polish king was the liege lord of the Hohenzollern family. And this is a painting showing how the Prince of Prussia, then Prince of Prussia, pays homage to the Polish king as his liege lord, and gets to rule Prussia at the will of the Polish king. And that happened in the marketplace. Now, the next item that you see is a tower. That's also in the marketplace. That tower is located is what's left of the city hall of the city of Krakow. It's a Gothic tower that was part of the complex of the city hall. It also had prisons during Middle Ages and a torture chamber. During 1820s, the city hall was taken apart because it was felt that it would free a lot of space in the marketplace for the public to enjoy. And what's left is the tower, which today is a museum and a tourist site and a vantage point. People can go up, take pictures from the top of it. Now, from there we would go to the Wawel Castle, which is, this is yet another picture of the marketplace to see how large it is. And another picture of marketplace. This is interior of the marketplace. This cloth hall is still used as a trading place. And you can see tourists buying goods that they can buy. Oftentimes these are typically exactly the sort of things that you would see at Quincy Market in Boston as well, geared towards a tourist trade principally. And this is the tower again. This is the Royal Castle, view from across the river. The Royal Castle actually is down the street, literally, from the marketplace. This is the seat of the Polish kings, starting with the first Polish king. And it remained a seat of Polish kings till 1611, when the then ruling monarch moved the capital to Warsaw. During Poland's independence in the interwar period, it was decided that this would be also an official seat of the Polish president, although the capital remained in Warsaw, and also the seat of the governor of the province. And to this day, that's how this castle is treated. The castle, this is another view of the castle, the fortifications, and the fortifications run from various time periods, so you have anywhere from medieval fortifications all the way through to modern fortifications, and by modern I mean 19th century fortifications, because the castle was also used by the Austrians till middle of 19th century as barracks for the military. Inside the castle, what you see here is the cathedral. And it's a very important aspect of the castle for a variety of reasons. One was that even when the castle was in disrepair, because the ruling parties at the time, whether they be communist or the occupying powers, the Austrians, did not take care of the castle, the cathedral was well taken care of by the church. And the cathedral plays an important role because it is also the site of burial of Polish kings, and the two chapels that you see, the two sort of helmets, one is green, one is gold, that you see on the picture, on the inside of it there is actually the royal tombs, and there are royal tombs right throughout the entire cathedral. From the cathedral you walk through to the residence itself. The cathedral is on your left, and then this is the Renaissance courtyard where you can imagine almost knights jousting. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, it became a seat of the Governor General of Germany. I wanted to quickly show you, I know I'm running out of time, but I would like to show you quickly the section that's Kazimierz. This is what used to be fully occupied by Jews of Krakow. Today there's many fewer there, but what you see here is a Jewish restaurant right in the marketplace, extremely popular with the tourists. And here you have what is known as the old synagogue. Building started in 1407, so it is pretty old. It's also one of the last fortress synagogue, Orthodox, it's called Orthodox fortress synagogues in Europe. There's not that many of those left. It was completely devastated by the Germans during World War II. It was a working synagogue before that, and it was used by the Germans as a magazine, as a storage place, but now it has been nicely renovated, and you can see a picture of it as it being renovated. And finally, a synagogue that's actually a working synagogue. It's called the Remut synagogue, and it's also beautifully restored, as you can see here, and this is its interior. So here is the city of Krakow that I wanted to tell you about, that contains a great many interesting old and new aspects of it, and I'd like to invite you to come and visit it.
All I can say is this was a great program, and all you people out there, it was my fault starting the program off. I should have said to you, get some snacks and sit down and watch this program. because I do have a great guest. Krakow that Merrick was speaking about is about the largest tourist attraction in Poland. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed this show. And Merrick, I am really honored to have had you here as my guest.
Thank you very much.
I'm
It's always a
inviting you
pleasure.
back.
I'll be glad to come.
And I'm going to be glad to have you. And with that, all you wonderful people out there, until we meet again, au revoir, adios, sayonara. And Merrick will give it to you in Polish.
Do widzenia.
And shalom, and yasu. In short, sei gesund, which means stay well until we meet again. Bye-bye.